All right, guys, welcome back to Life by the Bow. Today's obviously not a very fancy video for you guys here today, but I'm going to go over some things that I think will be really helpful and very beneficial for some of those beginner fishermen out there that really enjoy watching our videos and they just want to learn as much as possible about fishing in the upper keys. So if you could see here on the Pathfinder, we're keeping it real simple today. We got the small boat, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through absolutely everything that I bring with me every single time I leave the dock. These are the things that I've fine-tuned over the years of fishing, and I think this will be really helpful for you guys. And there's going to be a couple little miscellaneous things thrown in as well that I think will be helpful, but gotta thank Truebill. They're the ones that are bringing you guys this video here today, so we really appreciate them. But let's go ahead and get to it, and we're just going to start from back to front, and we're just going to go over everything that I bring with me every single time. Now, first things first, we live in South Florida. We got a lot of bugs, so I always like bringing some bug spray. This is going to be really beneficial first thing in the morning when the bugs are real bad, or I know a lot of the times when we're at boat ramps in the Everglades and stuff like that, or we're up against the mangroves fishing, we're getting destroyed by bugs. So it's always great to have some bug spray handy. And this is great for, say, mom or dad that really likes to fish. They got a birthday coming up and you don't know what to get them. These are just some of the go-to items. A measuring device. You want to have a measuring device on board because we want to make sure that we're always keeping what is legal at the time. Now, as you can see on this measuring device, we have all the fish here, and we have the tail lengths. It tells us Atlantic and Gulf, all that type of stuff. Never, and I mean absolutely never, pay attention to what these fish rulers say. And the reason why I say that is just because FWC always changes regulations without notice, so it's up to you every single time you go out fishing to check regulations before you keep something, because a lot of the times these rulers can be outdated. But it is absolutely imperative to have this on the boat, and we always have this on hand to make sure that our fish are legal. Next up, good pair of pliers. These are actually the pliers that we sell on our website. They have braid cutters right here, so you can see, so we can cut fishing line. They have this little indentation here so we can remove the hooks off of lures. So it's always great to have a pair of pliers. Always good to have these handy for fishing. Next up is a knife. It's always great to have a fillet knife on the boat, just in case, say God forbid, you know, a rope or a line gets wrapped around your prop, you need to cut it off, you want to cut bait. There is going to be a point in time where you need to cut something on your boat. Obviously, a fillet knife is really helpful to have at the dock while you're filleting fish, but I always suggest bringing a fillet knife on the boat just to cut bait, cut whatever you may need to cut. So that's really important. This is also one of our products as well that's on our website. I'm kind of going down the line with our products first, but you know, these are just things that I think that are absolutely imperative. You guys watch a lot of our videos. This is one of our dehookers right here, and these are absolutely awesome, especially when we're mahi fishing, patchery fishing, and there's a lot of bycatch and we need to release fish. We just take the dehooker, we can unhook and dehook the fish very quickly, and these are extremely helpful. They fit in a rod holder. They're 12 inches long, so if you're yellowtailing, you can just put the yellowtail right next to it, or say one of these and a half. That is the size that a mutton snapper has to be, so I wouldn't suggest using one of these to measure, but it's always nice to have some type of, I guess you could say, extra tool within a tool that's helpful. Right here, this is a descending device, and you guys have probably seen us use these in our videos as well. Whenever we're bottom fishing, a lot of the times we'll pull up fish and they get what's called barotrauma. I believe that's what it's called. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it's called in my head. And basically what happens is you pull a fish up from the depths, they have all the pressure of the ocean pushing down on their body and on their insides, excuse me. So once you pull them up real fast by reeling them up from the bottom, basically what happens, So all that pressure is relieved, and they typically blow up their swim bladders so they can't swim back down. So say for example, if we catch an undersized mutton snapper, if we throw him back, he can't swim down naturally. So we use this descending device to hook him right here, and that weight will pull him straight back down to the bottom. Now, if it's a really big fish, say something that's out of season, like a grouper, you're gonna probably wanna put like a pound, maybe even 2 pounds of weight on here. Right here, I believe this is a 16-ounce weight, and this will do fine for an undersized mutton, but I suggest about a pound, 2 pounds of weight. So this is something you wanna have. I believe this is the law too. We always wanna make sure that we're being very conservative when we're out there fishing. This is a very miscellaneous one, but I thought I'd throw this in here. This is a Scuff Eraser, and this is perfect to clean up blood, rust stains, all kinds of little tiny, you know, stains, I guess you could say, that you get on your boat. This is perfect to have. Something very important about these though, make sure that you're never using them on the slick parts of your boat, because once you get these wet, it's essentially wet sanding. So you will mess up that shine and that finish on your boat. So we typically only use these on cushions, non-skid, things that don't really have a shine, but this is huge. But before we go on to this side of absolutely everything, which will go on to fishing tackle, I just want to talk to you guys about Truebill. You know, Truebill, they've been a sponsor here on Life by the Bow for a really long time, so we really have to thank them. And Truebill is a personal finance app that we've been using for a while now. It's something that can seriously be life-changing. You know, say you just got married or you had a kid and you really want to start setting yourself up for the future. You know, Truebill is the perfect thing to do that. It has tons of features built into the app. Personally, two of my favorites are the budgets feature and the smart savings account. Basically, what the budgets feature does is it allows you to monitor your spending by category, and you can set up like little notifications that let you know whenever you've exceeded a certain budget. And then also the smart savings account, I love this one just because you can passively deposit money into that smart savings account, which lives on the platform, and you can withdraw from it at any time. So essentially it's like a little piggy bank, I guess you could say, on the app. But you guys can try it for free, and you can unlock more features with premium at truebill.com/lifebythebow. But let's continue to go down the line here. And these are two things that are very specific to an offshore guy, or say even a guy that's going way back in the backcountry when he loses service. And basically, this is what's called an EPIRB. And if we were to ever be in trouble, we take this little antenna, we flip it up, and we press this button, and this will lock in a GPS coordinate, and it'll contact Coast Guard for us if we ever were to be in need. But this is great to have if you're offshore, you ever need help, you ever need Coast Guard. It's one of these things that you're probably never going to use, but it's something that I suggest having on the boat because it can definitely save some lives. And then right here, we have our Garmin Inreach Mini. And basically this is similar. It has a similar feature, an SOS feature, where you can contact Coast Guard, but I can actually send text messages through this right here. So if we're ever somewhere in the Bahamas, we don't have service, or we're in the Everglades, we're camping, I can still contact someone back on land just to let them know that I'm okay, or God forbid, this isn't working. Just a nice little backup to have. So those are two things I suggest having on the boat at all times. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know where my other glove is, but I just have one right here. It's always nice to have a pair of gloves on the boat just in case you ever need to leader a big fish, or you're just really getting down and dirty with your hands and you want a little extra protection out there whenever you're fishing or maybe doing something on the boat. It's always nice to have a pair of gloves. Now, this is where things may get a little sophisticated down over this way, but there's a couple other little things that I just want to talk about. Bucket, it's always great to have a bucket on hand. If you ever need to rinse the boat, you don't have a saltwater wash down, you take this over the side of the boat, get some water, and you can just splash the water on your boat and you can clean things up after, you know, catching a bunch of mahi, blood all over the boat, or you need to clean up after a cast net. It's also good for trash, although I do suggest if you use a bucket for trash, make sure it has a top, because all that trash will eventually at one point in time blow out, and we don't want to be doing that. Another thing here, this is called a gorilla cart. I just got this on Amazon, and this is fantastic whenever I need to transport things from my garage to the boat. So as you can see, I have like rod holders set up on here and everything. So it's just great because it's the difference between say 2 or 3 trips and 10 trips, so to speak. So this is really, really helpful having this little wagon. And then these, I don't know exactly what these are called, but a lot of tackle shops have them. They're just these plastic buckets that are just very durable, and these are fantastic to load ice. They're fantastic to unload fish from your boat. Say for example, you know, you got 20 yellowtails and you don't want to pick them out one by one. You just throw all the yellowtails in there and then put some ice on top. Or you want to unload drinks that are left over in the cooler, or you're pulling out towels, or even just some of this miscellaneous gear. It's just great. You just throw that stuff in there and you have these 2 nice durable handles there, and it's just great to transport stuff to and from your boat. And then right here, high performance cooler. This is actually made by iRocker. Friend of mine, Steve, he owns a paddleboard company called iRocker, and they also make coolers, and he sent this to me, so that's what we're using for right now. So I appreciate you, Steve. Towels are a huge thing. These are big because you can clean off your sunglasses, you know, you can wipe off your GPS screen, you know, and these are very plush. I'm not sure who makes these, but basically this towel is so thick, it's about the size of a regular rectangular towel. So these are great too whenever we're getting out of the water and we just need to pat ourselves down, clean our glasses, like I said. So those are just some other little miscellaneous things. I'm not sure who makes them, like I said, but you can search on Amazon like extra plush towels, and that's basically what these are. But now let's get into, in my opinion, one of the best parts of this video here, because we get a lot of questions often based on leaders, hooks, rods, reels, cast nets. You know, basically this is going to go over absolutely everything, your tools to success in order to be productive and fish the same exact way that we do here in the Upper Keys. And the biggest thing that we always start out with is live bait. And as you can see right here, we have our Betts Murata cast net. Comes in this really kind of compact bucket, which is cool because you don't need all that extra bucket. It's perfect because it'll fit in this hatch right here on the back of the Pathfinder. But this is a 10-foot cast net, which means it's 10 feet, and it's a 3/8 inch mesh. And that is basically the size of the holes. That is the perfect size for overall bait fishing down here in the Keys. This is the perfect size for, for basins, shallow water, beaches. It's not so good offshore, but once you get offshore and you start catching bait, that's when things get a little more sophisticated. So this is the biggest thing that's going to, I guess you could say, take you from a beginner to a novice. So if you want to start throwing the net, you want the perfect size net, 10-foot Betts Murata 3/8 inch mesh. Now we also use a 1/4 inch in the summertime because the baits get a little bit smaller. So just trying to give you guys as much information as possible. And then of course, if you are going to be throwing a cast net, you need 2 bait nets. And the reason why I say 2 bait nets is because you will lose one. I can absolutely promise you that. So it's always great to have a backup. And some of this stuff you can live without, but if you're live bait fishing, you can't live without a bait net. So make sure you buy 2 of these, and you always have 2 on the boat. All right, so now let's move down here. Before we get to tackle, let's just talk about some of this stuff. You're gonna want a gaff on the boat. This isn't really too fancy here, but you know, obviously this is going in the bay boat, and we don't need too much reach for the bay boat because it has really low gunnels. But when we're fishing out of the 39, we typically want a pretty long gaff, something that we could really get some reach on to get over the gunnels and really stretch out and basically shorten the distance between us and that fish. But if anybody else has any advice on any of this or the hook size, go ahead and chime in on the comments. Greatly appreciate that. Gaff is important though. You want to make sure if you have a big fish, you're able to get him inside of the boat. See, if you try to flip him in and you just don't have the tackle, say, heavy enough for like a 10-pound mahi or a big mutton or something like that, you're gonna have trouble getting that fish inside of the boat. And basically what the gaff is used for is just to close that gap as quick as possible and get that fish inside of the boat. So gaff is really, really important. Now, let's go ahead and talk about our go-to spinning setup right here. And with this setup right here, you can catch mahi, you can catch mutton snapper, you can catch groupers, you can catch sailfish, you can catch just about anything that swims here in the upper keys on this setup right here. So this right here is a Penn Slammer 5500, and you can catch just about everything down here that swims in the upper keys on this rod and reel. And basically why I like the Slammer specifically is just because they're weather sealed and they're just a very durable product. And we fish once a week, so we want to make sure that when we're buying our gear is going to withstand the elements and what we're going to put them up against. However, you don't need to go as expensive as this if you aren't fishing as often as we are. You know, there's another reel below this one. I believe it's called the Penn Battle. Pretty sure they're still making those. And that's another great option, but we like the weather sealed products just because, you know, we definitely put our gear through a lot of stuff. And then right here we have 30-pound Suffix 832. There's a lot of lines that are very equivalent to this, but the reason why we like the 832 specifically is just because it has a very thin diameter, and with that thinner diameter, it's going to allow you to cast further. It's going to allow you to fit more line on the reel as well, and 30-pound is right there, you know, perfect for this reel because I believe this reel has about 30 pounds of drag. And then at the end of that, we have our FG knot, which is our line to leader connection. And right below here, we have a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. And if you're gonna leave the dock, if there's one size leader I could tell you guys to bring with you, 30-pound all day long. Some people may have different preferences, but this is what I use. 30-pound, I feel like it's not too small, but it's not too big, where it's not gonna affect the way that your bait swims, because that's a really important thing. If you're using a big, heavy leader, it's gonna affect the way that your live bait swims. So by having something that's relatively light, not too bulky, but not too small, I feel like something like that is very helpful. And you know, it's great to have 40 and 50 and 60 on your boat for different applications, but as you can see, you know, this is all set up ready to go for mahi fishing, and I could still drop this down. And you know, obviously with a longer leader, I can catch a mutton snapper on 30-pound. I can catch a grouper on 30-pound, though it may be a little more difficult to get that grouper up. We've done it before, but basically sail fishing, we'll use 30-pound. That is kind of our go-to, is that 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over these two tackle boxes, and these are two tackle boxes that I'm bringing every single time we're out there and we're live bait fishing. Whether we're fishing up on top for sailfish, mahi, tunas, or we're fishing down on the bottom for mainly mutton snapper. We don't really catch too much grouper here in the upper keys, but you know, this is all kind of keeping in mind, you know, live bait fishing. We do a lot of live bait fishing. That's mainly what we're doing, is live bait fishing. So these two boxes are set up for live bait fishing, which is helpful because we just went over cast nets, we went over bait nets, and we kind of went over that rig that we're typically using when we're live bait fishing. If we just cut off this bucktail and we put a little circle hook on here, you know, this would be perfect to throw out a live bait. Now, if we're tuna fishing, or we were mahi fishing, or sail fishing, we would probably be using a longer leader. Not so much for a mahi. It's not that hard to really fool a mahi with a live bait. This is about like a 5-foot leader here. But if we were sail fishing or tuna fishing, we'd probably move up to like maybe a 15, 20-foot leader, maybe even longer, depending on what it is that you're actually trying to do. But basically, there's really only one type of hook that I'm typically always using when I'm live bait fishing, and that is one of these tournament circle hooks right here. These ones specifically are made by VMC. These are 6/0 hooks, and if you can see here, that circle hook just has a really wide gap, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, I just really enjoy these hooks, and I've been having a lot of luck and a lot of success with this style of hook when live bait fishing. Now, these are perfect when your baits are kind of big, but if your baits are really small, these ones are made by Mustab. These are size 1, And if you have some smaller baits, or you're dealing with some finicky tunas, or maybe even some finicky mahi, you can really downsize that hook to a really tiny, you know, J hook right there. And you can kind of hide that in the nose of a pilchard, and that'll work out perfectly. So these are typically the two styles of hooks that we're using whenever we're out there live bait fishing. This is kind of the go-to. I really only use these for tuna fishing, but these are kind of the go-to for everything. Muttons, mahi, sailfish, sometimes on the edge of the reef, you know, you can get things like kingfish, stuff like that. And then right here, this is really only tailored to somebody that wants to bottom fish. And typically when we're bottom fishing, we're fishing anywhere between 100 to 120 feet. And our go-to is like a 6-ounce weight, but obviously it's great to have some 7, 8, 9, maybe even below that, some 5, 4-ounce weights. So anything kind of between like 4 to 10 ounces of weight, I think is perfect to have on the boat. Obviously right here we have a 16-ounce weight. We'll use this when we're fishing in like 300 feet on wrecks and stuff like that. But you know, it's just good to have a big plethora of weights whenever you're bottom fishing, because conditions, currents, winds, things always change. But guys, this is like our go-to stuff right here. And these are things that, or I guess you could say techniques that I've been using and kind of fine tuning throughout my years of fishing down here in the Keys. And you know, I never had a mentor, nobody ever taught me. I've figured out absolutely everything all by myself. So there may be techniques, and there may be hooks, and there may be certain leaders and other little things that people may know that I have absolutely no clue about. And I'm just gonna be completely honest with you guys about that. If this is something that you guys really enjoyed and you like these style of videos, let me know down in the comments as well, because I can kind of know to bring you guys more information like this if you guys really enjoyed it. But gotta thank Truebill once again, and of course, thank you guys for tuning in this long. Make sure to leave us a like. That's very important for the channel, all of our videos. But until the next video, we'll see you guys then. Thanks so much.